Right, we are casting on some knitting because my son has outgrown his leg warmers and he would like new leg warmers. So I need 40 stitches. So my measuring tape. So when you're doing a long tail cast on, something you can do to make sure your tail is at minimum long enough is you can measure out, if you're working with worsted weight or possibly with bulky, but with worsted weight for sure. Go back over there. Or not. Fine, be that way. Put them up later. Is you measure out a tail that is an inch of tail for every stitch. I need 41 stitches. 5. I'm going to hurt myself doing that tight. Let's try that again. Tail is on the side. Okay, that's better. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Come on, you. 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 24, 26, 27, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41. Okay. Extra tail will get absorbed later. Okay, now making sure that we do not turn any of our stitches, we are going to pass a stitch over. There. And now it is joined in the round. Now, make sure he's on the outside. If you're wondering, yes, this is a very bulky weight to have on this size of needle. It's extremely bulky, actually. Move that to the middle of the needle so it's less likely to move around. Rescue the needle and continue on. Now, my tension tends to be a little on the high side, especially when I'm doing something like this. So I'm not worried too much about specifically putting in a greedy stitch where I have the two needles joining together. There are specific steps you can take, or little alterations in technique that you can try to keep from having a noticeable gap in the area where where the join is. Sometimes that will fix just in blocking, sometimes it does not. I had a spectacular, they call it a ladder, going in one of the first projects that I ever did in the round whenever I would do my adjustment stuff. But this will be the second time that I have made a pair of leg warmers. The first time was for my son last autumn, and wouldn't you know it, his legs grew over the course of the summer. So they still kind of fit, but they don't cover as much of him as what he wants them to cover. So yeah, that's probably a bit better of a view. There we go. I'm crocheting. I don't have a long thing in this hand bumping into the crafting pillow. Right, we're about ready to do the part of knitting that I strongly dislike. Ribbing. Not a fan of ribbing. Well, maybe I should amend that. I acknowledge it for what it is there to do. It is generally a functional aspect of the garment. 2 seconds here, just need to grab. Grab something. No, it's fine, I'll find it later. Row marker. Okay. I am also going to move some of this part of the row over, and this is just so that my row start is not in the exact same place as my needle change. Alright, good. To the middle with you. That was a knit, so now we purl. So this is a 1x1 rib, which means we knit and then we purl, then we knit and then we purl. 2x2 knit would be knit twice, purl twice. Sure, going around, whoop. will say is wool is generally a lot better at gripping the needle. You can wrap it whichever way you choose. There is technically a correct way, but as long as you're doing it consistently in your work, that's really all that matters. Did go. Good up there so you are where you're supposed to be when I need you. The blue yarn is not presently on a spinner. I will remedy that probably by the time this project is over, but presently he is not, mostly because the spindle that'll fit this guy, because he is a massive thing of yarn, is currently occupied by a different skein who is probably primed for eviction at this rate. Just for context sake, I'm using a 5mm needle. This is a set of double pointed needles. This is kind of the right size for if I was holding one of these strands. Never mind holding them double. These are going to be freakishly warm by the time they're done because my child has requested color work in the middle. And I didn't necessarily have a great reason to say no to him. Because, yeah, if you're already somewhat have expectation of using a chart to some degree, having a color work chart versus just knitting it in texture pattern really isn't that different. That was April, so we're doing it. On the bright side, holding it double means that each stitch is huge, and this project will go relatively quickly. Not as quickly as my child would like, because he would probably prefer to wear these tomorrow morning, but once I've got them on, then just picking it up and working it will not be that big of a deal. I've got four colorwork motifs that I'm going to be knitting into this. I have a geometric pattern from the Doodle Knits book. I have a pumpkin pattern from the Doodle Knits book. I have another geometric pattern from which one is that one? The alternate dictionary, and a leaf one from Knitovation dictionary. So these are, I actually have one sitting over here, I'll just show it. So this is where the first one is going to be coming out of. If you're interested in color work and you like to add color work into things, these books are amazing. They do also have some color work projects that you can use to incorporate the color work things into. So if that is something you have an interest in, then I would highly recommend that. I have incorporated color work into what would have otherwise been plain sweater patterns, headbands, scarves. I'm about to do it to a pair of leg warmers. Yeah. And something's not right. That'll be fine. The slip bar. Whoop. Don't you fall off on me. Come back up here. There we go. Slip our stitch marker, and then we start again. This one is a pearl. Knit. Take it to the middle and switch. It's probably one of the best cases against using like really expensive stuff for children. They outgrow it so quickly. I mean, if it's in your budget, or it better aligns with your values, so you make it be in your budget, more power to you. I always have just about some of all fiber types in my stash at all times. In this case, we are talking about acrylic. And in the advantage for my children, unlike me, they like to be very warm, and they don't seem to mind if their clothes trap heat to no end and are not very breathable, which means that acrylic is much more of an option for them. I find it, unless we're talking about an outer garment for wearing in inclement weather, that acrylic just traps too much heat and is, by virtue of that, not comfortable to wear for me. So that is, if you're considering making something for someone, that is one of the first things that I would inquire about is how do they do with polyester or acrylic garments that they already own? Because if they find them oppressively hot and cannot wear them for more than 3 minutes before they're going to change their clothes because it's uncomfortable, which is me, yeah, then there's no point in using acrylic for someone like that. They would never use the garment made, and that's kind of the point. If I'm going to make something, I want it to actually get used. But acrylic is durable, it is washable, and it is inexpensive. So it's a feature, not a bug. But everything has its place. I have a cowl that I made from a jumbo weight polyester ultra fuzzy yarn thing that is marvelously warm. It is so warm, in fact, that I cannot wear it unless it's like minus 20 degrees outside, because otherwise it will make my face sweat. So very effective for cold weather. Also doubles well as a pillowcase for those little inflatable travel pillows if you're like camping or something. But it's definitely not an everyday garment. But if you've got to walk out when it's minus 30, minus 40 below, you want that kind of a scarf. Good old seasonal weather, extreme shifts. I am rambling. I should go to bed soon. Oh, what time are we looking at? But you see, I've only done like 2 rows, and I'm already at more than half an inch, so I will be doing this for 3 rows. I will probably cord one more time tonight and get a bit more work done on it. After all, I won't have to do the cast on part again, and hopefully I won't have to fiddle around with anything else. But I'll try to catch me doing the color work for you guys, because that is probably, to me, one of the most satisfying things in knitting, is doing color work and watching the picture form as you're knitting. Should be wearing my little leather thimble, because I have a bad habit of pushing on my needle to get it through the yarn. That is partially a consequence of unnecessarily high tension. But in this case, that is also partially a consequence of the fact that I am very mismatched in my needle size to yarn weight. I should put on a smaller little marker. I'm not actually concerned in this case at all about the row count, so I might switch out. Actually, I should do that. Come here, you. I'm talking about me fuddling around everywhere. I'm going to switch out to be nice. Don't fall out, don't fall out. I shouldn't have stuffed this many of these in here. La 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 la, get out of the way, get out of the way. I don't want any of these ones because these will fall out of knitting. These ones are better for crochet or something where you might need to move the marker. What I want is one of these. There we go. Go shake, and that's fallen out. That's fine. Go back in. Badly overstuffed. I should take some of these out of here and move them to a effectively holding cell. Come on, you guys. Close enough. I'll add it to my list of things I need to do. Okay, that one's in reserve now. You could do this on circular needles using something called the magic loop method. I'm personally not a massive fan of using the magic loop method. I don't really like using circular needles at all, unless I'm working on a very large project. So, but that is a me thing. I know that it's actually a lot of other people's preference. Back into its baby. There we go. It's the second time they've had sirens going off tonight. Anyway, I'm going to pause the recording and start a new one. I can post the next day because there's not a snowball's chance in hell that I'm going to finish this in one sitting, even if you gave me 2 hours. All right. Shall see you soon.